Oh, it's because I'm taking photos.
It's in photo mode. So now
Yes, I've never heard
reset
of
everything.
a video click.
50, 1000. Make sure that is set properly. And record. So that's interesting to know.
Well, at least you didn't do that and walk away at a wedding and
Right?
realize
Yeah,
you
so
weren't
that
recording.
when the Z30s are in photo mode, they and you click the record button, it does a 3-second timer to take a photo, I guess.
Well, now you know if you see that timer pop up that
I-
you are not
I
recording.
done screwed up. So yeah, it was funny. That wedding at Swiss Acres when we couldn't get the one camera to record,
Oh yeah, the one that I just edited.
and yeah, but we couldn't. Or no, which one was it? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that was.
So, but we couldn't get the one camera to film, and so like we switched
Oh,
camera.
not
we
the live stream. The other one.
No, the one at Swiss Acres. So up in
Okay.
Terrell.
Yeah, I was thinking Red Shed.
When we remember we couldn't. So last second I changed the camera, and it was because I hadn't switched the shutter button to record video, and I wasn't hitting the record button. So I thought, because I usually, that's one thing I do, is that I turn all the cameras when they're on video so I can hit the shutter button
Great.
and they'll record video. So, but, so yeah, that's us. Hey everybody, I'm Tim
I'm Jason.
and this is Exposed. So, tonight, it is Sunday night. We actually filmed last week.
Last Sunday, wasn't it? Or was
Last
it Monday?
Monday.
No, because we were going to do it Sunday, and then we decided, no, let's do
Right.
it Monday.
Yeah, we did it Monday. So, but I got to send a Snapchat out real quick because
But yeah, anywho, the deal that we did not go very well.
it did
at
not.
all.
Yeah. So the audio was really bad.
And then we lost one or two cameras throughout the.
Oh, they all died at some
yeah,
point.
at some point we were shuttling cameras,
Right.
and so people were not in their seats, running around, and it was kind of all over the place. So we're gonna redo it. So
So we're redoing it. But so somebody was bugging me as I bought this drink. Oh, banging on microphones. Bought this drink and she wanted to know how it tasted, and I said I won't try it while I'm in my car. But it's okay. It's not worth the hype, in my personal opinion. But cheers. Redoing it. So that's actually going out to Tammy Nielsen, Scott's girlfriend.
oh yeah.
So we get that to her. That way she can.
So yeah, we had issues with mics. So we got two new mics. We got two new housings. We got a new recorder. So we should be sounding pretty good, and hopefully we don't have to invest much more money into things
Right.
than we already have. And not that we have a lot into it, but since this is not making any kind of money whatsoever, and it's just kind of a hobby, and hopefully we can roll it into something else eventually, and or maybe somebody else can get something out of it. But we figure we do this enough where we're just having these conversations with each other, so we might as well share them with everybody else.
That's right. So like Jason said, we put a bunch of stuff into this, but I've actually had creatives already reach out. So I think what we're going to do is we're actually going to try having each one of us will have our own guests.
Yep.
And we can just sit down and have a drink or water or a coffee and just talk. So, but I know last week we talked. I honestly, that was a week ago. I can't even remember what we talked about.
We kind of talked like how we got started in photography, and where we each got started, because you and I both haven't been in this for an extreme long period of time.
No.
When you start talking the evolution of a photographer or a videographer, or the combination of both, with you especially. I got started in January 2017.
Yeah.
Because I got myself a camera for Christmas that year, and the girl that I was dating at the time, she had 3 kids, and she had mentioned that she would like the camera, and so I thought it was something that we could learn together, and that relationship dissolved. But fortunately, the thing that came out of it, if it wasn't for her, I would have never picked up a camera.
Right.
And so, I just threw myself into photography at that point and just never looked back. And 3 months after, I started shooting, I had, an exhibit in the hospital, and which
That's right,
ended
that's
up
right.
leading to my first gallery show within the first year.
Yeah,
Of shooting.
I remember. So I had started. So I bought my first good camera in that would have been April 2016. So I was just 9 months, 10 months ahead of you, and I'd already been shooting on a DSLR, but wasn't like I wasn't out of auto mode yet until March, and then March of 2016, I was learning the ISO settings
Yep.
and shutter speed,
Exposure
and all that stuff.
triangle
The
and-
exposure
and,
triangle, which, and I know we talked about this, and we're going to probably keep referring to last week, but what we had talked about is how difficult it is for the beginner cameras to actually change all of the settings. They kind of hide them, and maybe it's for good reason. Maybe it's so they don't. Like somebody doesn't grab their camera, start messing with it, and then they have no idea how to get it back.
Right. And yeah, it's hard to say why they actually came out with this. And one deal that I had mentioned too when we were talking is they put so much stuff on these prosumer cameras. They're not professional level; they're amateur level cameras or entry level, whatever you want to call it. That's where I started. I started with a Canon T600. And it was a great little camera to learn on, but it did not take me long with the way that I shot the camera. This was about the time that the mirrorless was just coming out.
Right.
When I picked up the first camera that I had, I seen Sony mirrorless, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. These look like small little cameras. That's not what I want. But I ended up shooting mine because, at the time I considered myself a landscape shooter. That's what I wanted to do, and that's what I wanted to learn. So typically all my work was done on a tripod. So shutter speeds didn't matter a whole lot unless, I didn't want any movement or anything like that. So I had, the nice slow ability to learn, all the exposure triangle and how to do anything like that. So I picked that up rather quickly. But the amount of time that I also divulged into it was pretty extensive. Like if I wasn't working, I was researching cameras and camera equipment. But to go back to them prosumer cameras, like you were saying, the buttons can be hard to find.
Yeah.
Somebody to this day can hand me a camera and I can't run it for them. And it makes you feel pretty stupid.
So that's funny. I had, so I was photographing the football game Friday night. And so it was homecoming. I put up a bunch of photos. I made sure to bring some good gear because it was homecoming. So kids are going to be dressed up, and I wanted to make sure all the parents had good images. And one of my clients and she has a great camera, and she brings it up and she's like, "You need to set this for me." Which happens a lot. And I have no problem helping the moms out or anybody with setting their cameras.
Anybody that needs to learn.
I am
the desire
and
to learn.
she's been wanting to hire me to kind of teach her how to run it. And I get to looking at it, and she has a Canon R5, which is not a prosumer camera.
Right.
That is a pro camera. And I kind of chuckled about it, and I go, "Why do you own this camera? Why do you should not have this camera? There's no green A button on that camera." And that's what some people just need.
They need that to get going.
They need that to get going.
And it depends on, what level you come into it as too. We both have somewhat of an art background. It's something that we enjoyed. You've built houses and everything like that. So you kind of understand, process of, building an image or whatever. Because there is a structure to images.
There's a big mechanics. Well, and it's funny that you bring that up. So, and I always tell people when they want to learn photography, and I said, I cannot teach you to take a good picture.
Right.
I can teach you to take a properly lit, properly exposed picture, but I cannot teach you to take a good picture because there's so much in the way of mechanics in how it all works. And when I started, so I had an artistic eye because everybody refers to the eye, right? You have the eye of the photographer.
You have a gift.
So and I
Which
always,
some people are, naturally more gifted and stuff like that, but it's a developmental thing.
Yeah. So and I always tell people, I'm like, I can't teach you to to compose an image. Like we can go through the aspects and rules of thirds and Fibonacci's and all this other stuff that goes into that. And you get way further into the composing of an image than I do. And I think it's mainly because of what we shoot.
Yep.
I'm a people first. People, animals, then things. Like you're big into architecture and street photography. Like your architecture stuff has, I see a lot of your composition settings and all of that.
When you start to, and it goes to like recognizes, an artist's work, you will start to see their style come through.
Right.
And that's one thing that a lot of beginners don't have. And, they think that that new camera or that better camera and that better lens is going to produce that better image. And to an extent it will.
Right.
But what they don't understand is you're producing better pixels. You're not producing better images.
Correct.
And as you start going up in them higher dollar cameras, and like you're referring to with that R5, that's a professional level camera. And what a lot of people don't understand is in prosumer level cameras are designed to be the everybody's camera.
Right.
You're going to have a better chance of getting things in focus. It might not have the best autofocus, but typically with them crop sensors and different stuff like that, it's easier to gain focus. Yeah. Also, they're a lower megapixels, so as long as you don't
there's a little forgiveness in the lower megapixels.
Yes.
So, and it's funny talking about prosumer cameras, and I know you said crop sensor, and my D750, which was my first, I call it my pro camera, right? Is my first pro camera. That is considered a prosumer camera, and it is. I see people still to this day use them for sports and movement, and I'm like, the focus system is so slow to that. And I actually bought a D500 after that as a backup camera, and I wanted the D500 because of the focusing speed. So, and that the D500 is actually considered a pro camera, and it's a crop body.
Right.
It's a crop sensor, and the D750 is considered prosumer. And Nikon, you can usually tell with their pro cameras because the eyepiece is round.
Yep.
And so, and I have, let's see, I got like 6 where they ain't round. But, and they all do good. Like, I've got my D850, the Z9, which is a point of pain right now because I'm a jackass. And
it got wounded.
It's going to the doctor. So yesterday, so I have a tendency of getting in a hurry. Imagine that. Anybody that knows Tim, imagine that. Tim has a tendency to get in a hurry. And it's so earlier this year at a wedding, it's always weddings because there's always so much going on. And, I had the big 8600 flash. We were ready to go do church pictures and open up the hatch, and I had not put it back in the case. I had set it beside the case, and stuff shifted, and it rolled out the back as soon as I opened the hatch, hits the ground, shatters the bulb. Great. Thankfully, I have speed lights, which will do the job, but not well.
Yeah, you're still talking 2/3 power.
Because the 8200s were back in Okoboji, and we're 45 minutes away, so it was like, okay, this is what we got. This is what we're rolling with. And so last night, we had finished all the homecoming photos, and got home. I had put everything in the bag, but I had not zipped it. I had taken the bag and I had set it in another case.
Yep.
I set it in my light stand case in the back of the vehicle. Opened it up, grabbed some stuff that we'd picked up on the way home, grabbed the bag, pulled, and it was not closed. And the Z9 bounced on the ground.
As your heart stopped.
And I just looked at it. Now, I've had other cameras take hits to the concrete. You've seen it. And it's typically because I get in a hurry.
Yep. And
so I pick up the camera and I look at it, and I can tell that there's damage. And I pick up the 7200. Of course, it's the most expensive pieces of equipment that I own.
That you own, yes.
The 7200 Z lens. I pick it up and I look at that. It does not look wounded, but the end of it's funky. And I look at the body of the Z9, and the ring, the mounting ring, is not there.
Attached to the
it's
camera.
not attached to the camera. So I get the lens, I stuff it where it belongs, I hit the button, and I actually am able to turn off. And thankfully the lens was okay. The camera was not. I'm happy that I have insurance because I have no idea what this is going to cost.
Or how long it's going to take.
Or how long it's going to take. Because,
camera.
And I've had a camera like 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And I love that camera. And I had to shoot with my Z6 II today.
Yep. It's like
holy shit! It's like going back way back.
Yep.
And the Z6 II, and everybody loves that camera, and I love it too. But I'm already used to that Z9, man. Everything just works. It just works.
Well, then you got the weight of it and stuff like that too, and that does change the shooter.
And I'm a heavy camera guy anyway.
Well, and then you have somewhat of a shaky hand, like compared to
what
I have.
So it helps keep me steady because and most people don't think about that. They think lighter weight is better for steady shots. No, it's heavier because then there's less of that movement transfers through. So I actually told Melanie earlier today. I said I think I'm going to order a battery grip for the Z6 II because I have the big batteries,
right? And
just to put it on there so it feels right to me because
especially now since you got the 9 as well,
right? And
so.
I'm used to it now. I have. And this is one of the things, and Melanie said this to me today. She goes, "What do you think people do that go to weddings with one camera? And something like this happens.
There's nothing they
like.
Can
What do you do?
Like, yeah,
I've never gone to. I take that back. I went to one wedding once with one camera, and that was a D3100, and I was unpaid.
Right.
So every other time since then, as soon as money was on the table for a wedding, I always had a second camera.
Right.
Even if it was that D3100. But I could still shoot, and I can still make images with that camera. So now we roll, there's always extras because stuff happens to cameras.
Yep.
Like Tim has a tendency to bounce shit off the ground. How many cameras have I bounced? 1, 2. So 850, Melanie's Z6, I bounced the D850. I have bounced the D500, my Z6, my Z6 II, one of those. Now that was like a drop like this.
Yeah.
And then the Z9. That's 4, and then a light that.
You're dropping like a camera a year, bud.
Dude, it was like today. I was like, I broke a glass this morning. I dropped a light this afternoon. I was like, you know what? I don't need to touch anything of value.
Right.
Because like in the last 24 hours, like I could have destroyed $7,000 worth of stuff that has taken me 6 years to even think about being able to afford and have it as an operating camera. And thankfully, I'm insured. And being a Nikon Pro, I get a discount. So it's packaged up. It's ready to go back with UPS tomorrow. So I guess I will hopefully find out Friday.
When you get it back.
If I get it back. And how much it's going to cost. So I was a little heartbroken and in a pissy mood for about 18 hours. I'm a little bit better now that we're 24 hours out from everything because mistakes happen. And
there's everybody's going to break equipment at some point. One way or another, things are going to break. Accidents are going to happen. Sometimes it's not even your fault.
Most of the time it's my fault.
Luckily, it was your fault. And, so I know if I would drop a camera like that, especially if it was somebody else's, like,
oh yeah,
like that would be the worst.
Oh, if it was somebody else's, dude, I'd have went and bought him a camera. I'd have put it on a credit card.
Yeah.
I would have been like, you just give me that one. And, cause I'm always curious. And I always chuckle about it. I guess I'm less curious, but people will be interested in our cameras, right? Yeah. Oh, what he's shooting on. So I tell them, oh man, I love that camera. And I will put it in their hands. I'm like, here.
Shoot
it. And they're like, oh, no. I'm scared I'm going to hurt it. I'm scared I'm going to hurt it. And I'm like, well, just don't drop it. I'm like, if you don't drop it, we're good.
Yep. Usually I throw a camera strap on, which I'm wearing all the time anyway.
Right.
And then just wear this. And, just even yesterday, or not yesterday, what's today? Sunday. Yeah.
Today's
yesterday.
Sunday, yeah.
So, I went down to Des Moines this weekend and, it was my first Saturday off that I didn't have to shoot a wedding in the last 3 weeks. So I'm like, I'm going to go work on street photography. If people wonder how you get better, that's how you do it. You shoot every single day. So I was out for, I think it was 8 or 9 hours yesterday. And, walking around and I'd meet up with friends every now and again. Sometimes we'd sit down, we'd have a drink and have a conversation just like you or I are doing, which is, with this transporter or recorder or whatever
Yeah,
that we got,
yep.
the plan is, to bring everybody else along on some of them trips and conversations. And, we got GoPro cameras and somebody wants to see, some more of street photography and what goes into that. You might put in a 9-hour day and walk home with no images.
Right.
And like I always tell people, I hope for one image out of a 10-hour day. Like one
I hope I can
stellar image.
I hope I can get 5 in a year.
Mm-hmm.
In a year.
Yep.
And sometimes I don't get
right.
So
But your free shooting compared to my free shooting, like you're usually shooting for an income. Where I spend a lot of time on the art side of photography, chasing that image that's that printable image.
Right. Well, I guess, in reference to having those keepers. So because, and it's really interesting because, and you had brought it up, we both shoot daily. Now,
if we're not shooting,
we're
working on
we're
photography
working on it.
on
We're
one way or
thinking about
another.
it. We're, not. I have gone weeks without putting a camera in my hand, and sometimes it's like it is March, and I have not set a camera down. Like it's every day. It's every, especially right now, and I laugh because of the memes that go around during this time of year. October's to wedding or to photographers as April is to tax people. And I'm like, dude, my May through November is every day. It's not just October.
Yep.
And
like the next 3 weeks I'll spend, we got a wedding coming up this weekend. But the next 3 weeks for me will just be solid editing. Like that's what I'll be doing. That's what I'll be working on.
Because I shot 2 today. I have two, one big one. Okay, so I have video stuff, video and photos, and then I go do senior pictures, and the senior is going to end up being. We're going to do an hour or so earlier in the evening, towards end of day, towards dusk. And then we're going to do a midnight shoot, which I hope turns out because
it sounds
what
cool.
he wants
cool.
should be really cool. And then I think the rest of the week it's only 1 a day, and then come to the weekends. It's wedding Saturday, 2 on Sunday. I do a lot of 2 on Sundays, just especially now with football boys and all the other stuff, just trying to get everybody squeezed in before the leaves are completely gone.
Right.
But they're just now turning because I had people 3 weeks ago, man, what are we going to do? There's not going to be any leaves left. And I'm like, just slow down just a little bit. But and I think that's what people don't realize is that I, like, as far as I go, like I shoot, like almost my business shoots daily. And that's why I need a photo editor for certain aspects of it, because I cannot physically do everything. There's not enough hours. And I did have somebody the other day go, man, when do you sleep? And I tell everybody the same thing. I sleep 7 to 8 hours a night. I work the rest of the time. Right. And it may not be physically on a shoot at the computer, but there's networking, there's text messages, there's bookings. Today, we booked one for next year. Today, based on some emails and phone calls and a conversation that we had the other day, booked one from, there's always stuff going. We have one more. We have the September 30th or 31st. Otherwise, September is going to be completely booked for next year already, which I'm happy about. I want more weddings, and Melanie wants less weddings. So, but I enjoy them. I enjoy the weddings.
I have a good time. Sometimes the weddings, aren't the same as, you have fun ones and you have ones that maybe, are a little bit more reserved. You never know what you're going to get when it comes to a wedding. But I don't think we've had anybody yet where we're just like, oh, that was horrible.
No.
And we typically have fun. And that's the enjoyable part of weddings. Like everybody's there to have fun.
Right.
We haven't had any day that's just, deteriorated or nobody was happy, For the most part, we feel a part of them families when we're there that day.
Oh, yeah.
And, so we enjoy celebrating that time with them as well as getting to do what we would do around our family and friends anyway.
Yeah.
And, which is document.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, and this is something we want to talk about, is second shooters. And I have been pushing, okay, So for the first 5.5, 6 years, Melanie was basically an included second. And she does a great job, but she's better at managing the day and making sure that you and I don't miss anything.
More of like a wedding planner.
She's more of a
than
planner that comes
second.
along with us, and I wouldn't even call her an assistant because she's way more than that. And but she also likes the days where you and I just shoot and she kind of gets to hang back and watch, and it's always, I can always tell the days that she does that because she gets better images hanging back.
Yep.
Instead of trying to like take your place or
Yep.
or my place.
She can slow down. She can take her time.
Yes.
And, pick the images rather than just take
Right.
images.
Right.
And there definitely is a different process.
There is.
And, somebody maybe will eventually approach us, and I hope that's the case, that they'll say, I want the best, most artistic ones you can. I want the quality over quantity.
Yep.
And because I think most will, by the time when they start going back over them images and they start seeing, 1,000 images, 1,200 images, 1,500 images, whatever it ends up being,
Right.
that, there is so many images that they'll never even look at.
Right.
And,
But it's I like it when we get those ones that just catch the eye. And so when I had the bride and groom call this morning, and he happened to be out east because he travels a lot, and she was in Des Moines, and basically my job this morning was to explain to him the importance or the value of a second shooter. And I said, I had to ask him, like, okay, so what do you guys do for a living? Because I needed to find something that was relatable to their everyday life. And I said, a second shooter would be considered somebody that does the work that you don't have the time to get to. And I explained to them that my job is to get a certain set of images that every wedding client typically is looking for. So I have that mental list. And we used to come to a wedding with a list, and now it's kind of gone mental because it's just the steps that you go
doing
through
it time and time again
on a day-to-day basis every weekend. And so what I explained to them was what Jason does at a wedding is he gets to go capture the stuff that I'm unable to because I cannot be everywhere at once. So he can get, the kids doing things. He can get grandma's tears. He can catch the emotions. There's just different ways. And I'm always enamored at some of the images that you end up in because you see things from a more there's different aspects of how you see things. And so I love to see those images that you come up with on all that. And so it's really made it fun, and it's been easy for me to sell. I'm like, if you don't book Jason, it's okay, but you should book Jason,
right?
And I don't, and I explained to them, I don't keep any of the money that I charge for you. I pass it 100% through because it adds so much value,
right? That
there's no need for me to make it because it adds to both of our portfolio.
Absolutely,
because you get to have the image, and you can edit those images how you like them, and then when you edit the wedding, you edit them how I like them.
right.
But
but I still, I still get that chance to edit it. I just know it's going to be under your preset that you've worked on and developed over them course of years. So I'm making small tweaks to that, but I'm building that image the way I would build any other image that I work with. And the way I build images, like there's quite a bit of work that goes into some of them.
Oh, I know.
And, you've seen it firsthand. And, maybe sometime we can show like a before and after on some of these photos. And so people can see kind of what they're getting. But that's, that goes hand in hand with what I did this last weekend. I'm going out and working on that street photography. And that street photography also rolls over. And basically what street photography is, for anybody that don't understand it, you might as well call it candid photography because that's what it is. It's candid photography captured in the street. You're not directing anybody. You're letting it happen. And a lot of times we'll even have where we're at a wedding or an event and somebody goes to walk up and I got that camera there. And then I just bumped that. So hopefully I didn't blow out anybody's ears. But, and all of a sudden they stop and we go, no,
I
keep
want
going.
You in this frame.
I am using people to create some of them images.
Yeah.
I can create out of focus areas. I can create layers and stuff like that. And that's what I'm looking for. And that's one thing that you get over time, anybody that's a beginner shooter or something like that, working with, kind of does a little bit of everything. It just does nothing really well, to the point of some of these professional tools,
Right.
as far as making the better pixels. But it'll give you that ability to learn as you do grow as well, because
We're not making the same mistake.
oh, we got to reset our cameras.
We got the one. So we made this, and I hate to bust your flow, but so I have one camera that will only record 30 minutes, and it's that one.
Right, it's the one right dead center in the middle.
So we need to. I need to invest in one of those, and I'm hoping by the end of this year, when the tax man cometh, I can. That is a go ahead, because I've there's been enough money spent, especially with breaking cameras. But yeah, so we'll have to reinvest in a camera that will run longer. But
yeah, when you start off with the beginner DSLRs, it's giving you that nice foundation to learn. Because when you start progressing in your photography, you will find cameras that fit you and cameras that don't. But you also need find a camera that fits your shooting style and the way you like to shoot. Like, my main camera is not image stabilized. And that's something that people need to remember when you start dealing with shutter speeds. Somebody with a shakier hand is not going to have as good a luck. I can run that camera down to an eighth of a second and feel safe with it, but I'm going to get that motion blur that I'm working with down on that eighth of a second. Not that I'm shooting everything that way, but when we start talking that artistic deal, and then there's some shots that I've liked to try, and we've worked on them a couple times, and where I'm like, Tim, this is what we're doing. Like, control the people for me.
Right.
And, we're working on perfecting that. And we've got some good stuff, and we've got some stuff where it's just the delete folder. It's not working.
Yeah.
But it's trying new things like that, and trying to get them images that they did not expect.
Right.
They are more than a documentation image. I am trying to get something that they can hang on a wall, and it's not only something to remember that day, but it's a piece of artwork as well.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's funny talking about the artwork and the side of things. So Morgan and Bob, reached out to me the other day, and because I had sent off their film, and she goes, I want to submit some of the images of me in my dress to the designer.
Yeah.
And I was like, absolutely. I said, just get them in contact with me if there's anything that they want to use, whether it be in print or online or whatever. They just need to be in touch so I can just get them the usage rights that they need.
Yep.
And because that's the one thing that a lot of people don't understand, especially brides. And there's a lot of, not a lot. There's some vendors. I found this out a month ago that are actually offering brides discounts if they give them usage rights of their wedding images,
which they don't have,
which they don't actually have, and because all of our contracts are there's no commercial rights included, and I always tell the vendors, look, I don't have any problem sharing images with you, at all. I want everybody to be able to take that is involved in that wedding day to be able to, I want to send the florist images, and I want to send the venue images that they can use and all that other stuff, because it just creates a community and a relationship with everybody. Which is
kind of what we're working on here.
Which is always what we want to work on. But the funny side of things, and this is for anybody that doesn't really know me, is that when somebody tells me, oh, they gave me the rights to these, I'm going to use them. And I'm like, whoa. Okay, first thing, you don't ever tell me what you're going to do with my stuff. Now, if you ask, I will give you the shirt off my back.
Right.
If you tell me, I'm a very, very stubborn person. Ask a lot of people. And I think there's a lot of that actually gets lost in today's society. There's so many people that just demand stuff without asking.
Right.
And I'm like, just, hey, can we have this? Please, I'll throw your name down. Dope. I absolutely. You tell me which one you want. I'll make sure that it is perfect for you. Like, if there's something in it that we need to adjust.
Right.
But
you want to be credited for that image.
I want to be. I don't necessarily need to be paid. I just want to make sure that I'm credited. And there's man, we could have weeks on the whole exposure bucks bullshit. Well, this is good exposure, and there's a time and a place for exposure.
Absolutely.
And it's certain people and certain things.
But you also have the people say that they're going to give you exposure. They never list you once, and then you have more followers than what they do.
Right. Yeah. There's no benefit in some of it, but I do love to give vendors.
Oh yeah.
Good photos that they can use because I want that relationship with everybody, with DJs, florists, venues, even the caterers. You'd be amazed how many people ask us who's good for catering.
We had this discussion this weekend with some people. We were talking, different caterers who had the best food, who has the best DJ.
Okay. I have my favorite caterer.
I think I know who it is.
No, you know who the second place is. Okay. I think so. And I would have to even look him up because every time somebody asks me, I look him up, and I'm like, if you want the best value, so consistent, good food, value, they are not astronomically expensive. It's Litterdale.
Yeah,
they deliver the same results every week.
It's great. We've had it. I don't know how many times, but every time I see like their name on the side of a deal,
I gotta look up the other one.
We're gonna eat good tonight,
right?
So.
And I have to look up this other one because I always forget the name. And then but the food is just
one problem we've ran into with a vendor too, and. For any photographers that maybe have not shot a wedding, this is definitely something to talk about with your couple, is going in to eat after, the wedding party. You follow them through the line you are part of the wedding party. Because we've had one venue in particular, and I've had it happen twice.
Yeah.
And, there's 250, 300 people there at this wedding, and they serve everybody else. Well, we were back to work before we ever got our food. Mm-hmm. So then our food sat there for an hour before we got to eat. We're working a 10-hour day. We haven't stopped at all.
Right.
And, we're not taking pictures of anybody eating food. Who wants to be filling their mouth and then getting, mashed potatoes? You're not going to get them images.
Right.
So at that time, we want to sit down, eat our meal. So when speeches come, we're ready to shoot.
Well, and then the other thing is that, like, as soon as the couple's done, sometimes I'm like, do you guys want to get out for 15 minutes? Nobody. It's just us. Even if we don't take any pictures, do you guys want to just go out and get a breather where it's just you two?
They can do their thing.
I'll run
grab
defense
some
for you.
Or whatever. And if somebody comes out, no, they just, we're just taking a few minutes out here.
Just leave them be. And I'll tell the DJ, hey, I've got them for the next 10 minutes. I'll let you know when we come back in. But I want to get back to the catering thing. So it's Campin' Foods, Campin' Catering in West Bend.
Okay.
And they have had some of the best. And I'm a man that likes to eat. And and they have had some of the best food. We've had them at the Red Shed. And God, where was I just at?
And maybe this is something we can link to our page too.
Yeah. We'll talk about, because Litterdale is good, Campin' is good, and they quality wise they're good. They do different things, or they do different foods differly. Mm-hmm. So, and I've never had a complaint. And we can
either.
Yeah,
either
and
one.
I've got let's see, 1, 2. So I have 3 DJ companies with more than 3 DJs that I really, really like working with.
Yep.
And so, we'll talk about DJs at some point too. I've got one that's 2 blocks away from me, and I've got some that are 90 miles away from me, different directions, and they're all phenomenal at what they do.
We've had some DJs that weren't.
A DJ can ruin a reception.
Absolutely.
And
we had sound people show up 5 minutes before the wedding start, and they couldn't get this audio set up.
Yeah, we did. I did one up at the barn in Okoboji with no sound for the ceremony, and then when they got inside, I had to help them get everything turned on. Like, they didn't know where to do, and I have just enough like soundboard knowledge. I don't know shit about the computer systems that run these things. I'm like, if you can get the audio out of the computer, I can help you on the rest of it. But so that's an interesting thing. So that's we can make video after video or podcast at podcast just about vendors, and and what to expect and what the questions that you need to ask, because I know Melanie and I have had the conversation even with former brides that, you know, we've actually talked about venues, you know, well, what if we all went in and put a venue together and then you could be the exclusive? And I'm like, I don't want to be the exclusive photographer. I want everybody to be able to bring their own photographer. I don't mind being a choice.
Because I've even been approached about that, is about being, you know, pushed to be a photographer. And there's a different thing about being pushed compared to like, you know, being an exclusive where if you book our venue, you have to book this person. I don't think that's fair. I think everybody. I think some resorts do that type of stuff too.
Oh yeah, in the travel stuff, because I've got a bride from Aruba that we're working with for next summer, and she's like, they've given us options. I don't like what I see. You know, what do you have? What are you willing to work with us on this? And because there's a lot of, you know, problems with that where it's overpriced and underdelivered.
Yep.
And I always want everybody to get what they want for a vendor. And that's why when people call us for weddings, I am a zero pressure sale. I want you to get along with me and tolerate me, because I can be a little extra.
Right. And two, I mean, us going into that day too, like, we want to be able to vibe with that couple. You know, we want to be able to have fun and enjoy it, because if we're not vibing with each other, there's another wedding that can be booked.
Yeah.
You know, and they'll have a better day and we'll have a better day.
Yep.
But I think, you know, dollar for dollar, what they get, like, out of the company is, you know, and it's more than just photography. There's a lot of information.
Right.
There's a lot of help and you know, getting through the day and making that day exactly what it is.
Right. So, and I know, you know, Mel and I have actually had that conversation about being able to do, like, I don't know if I want to say necessarily wedding planning, coordination, different stuff, and help with that. I would actually love to be able to help a venue set up to help their customers get the best images.
Yep.
Whether it's, and I don't necessarily want to say it is a set type of lighting, because every photographer does it differently.
Yep.
But if you can avoid windows in
Major
certain places,
yes.
You know, because I know we have some that the window placement, and it's been built for a wedding venue, and their window placements are bad,
right?
Because it lets light in at the wrong time of the day. In the wrong spot, you know, like if this wasn't there,
it's not that it don't look good, but the technical side of it for photography makes it very difficult.
Or providing options to be able to close that off but still look good. And that's one thing that in one of our venues that we love to go to, that we shoot at a lot, like, I would like to provide some different options as far as keeping their same aesthetic but being able to close things off, because I know the one that I was at last month, and the venue was, God, it was gorgeous. And I had a great time, but they had built-in spotlights.
Yep.
And they were like, well, do you want these? Well, they work great for speeches, but they don't work good for the ceremony. We had to be inside because it was raining.
Okay.
So I'd already talked to the manager. I'm like, I do not want these lights on. I'm not going to use flash, but I'm just going to bump my ISO a little bit just to get it, because, and she was like, well, you sure you don't? And I go, turn them on and I'll go stand up front, and then I want you to look at me. And it's severe raccoon eyes, because the light's right here. So, like, it's dark circles, right? And I said, I don't want that. And so wedding starting, I'm down front, Mel's in back. And the groom's walking people down, and he gets down there and he goes to his spot and he turns around. And then I realize that another person had come in and turned those lights on. So I'm like, oh shit. And I can't, at this point, Are you doing video too, or is this just I was just doing photo. Okay. So at this point, there is, the wedding party is starting to come down, and there's two of them at the back. So I reach over, snap, go around, run, flip the lights off, run back, get them right at the end. And the gal that had turned them on, she looks at me. And of course, I can be a lot on a wedding day, because I want the bride and groom to have everything perfect, as perfect as I can help make it. And
You-
she
you've
looked at
yelled
me
at people's
and
cell
she
phones before.
and she did not like me, and it was the owner of the venue. And she loved Melanie, but Tim can be a lot, and I explain that to people. I'm like, I can be a bit much, and I want everybody to tell me if I'm being a little, because I've been called all kinds of names by people that hate me at 2:00 and love me at 8,
Right.
because I helped get them through, and it's never the bride and groom, it's always somebody else.
Yep.
So they hate me at 2, they love me at 8, and it's because at 2:00 I'm like, that's enough. No more drinks until after the ceremony. The bride said no. Well, this is my first one. In the last 3 minutes,
Yep. Or
I watched you do.
are going back
I watched
on.
you do 2 shots. They'll come back out. I want to leave my sunglasses on. I don't give a fuck what you want. Take them off. She says no. Well, and I go, look, you're her guest, and I understand that you're part of this.
Yep.
But if they want to do some shots with it, let them.
Yeah, we
we can do that after. But we need to get these certain things, and there's a lot that goes into a wedding day just with me, and I always kind of wonder, like, because you're a lot more soft spoken than I am, and
Absolutely,
you get through your weddings that you shoot for us and yourself really, really well, and maybe I'm a bit much on a wedding day, but
we'll work on maybe mellowing you out, soften the edges
Right?
a little bit.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
At your age, I don't think we're going to change.
No,
too
I'm
much,
getting
so.
harsher as it goes, but it's it just gets back to where I want to make sure that my bride and groom,
Absolutely.
or bride and bride, or groom and groom, or whatever it is, my
So we're not-
my wedding couple has the best that I can help them create that day, because there's so much more than we do. I have sewn bridesmaids into dresses, and I guys walk in, I go get in a line, I put their boutonnieres on.
Yep.
Well, my mom wanted to put it on. Okay, she can either put it on and I can fix it, or I can put it on and she can pretend. We can get
9
you
out
the
of 10
pictures.
times it's getting fixed.
There's bent bun or bent pins and everything else like that, but we can go into the different things that we do during a day. But I think what we need to work on, and some of this, is that I would like to go with you on a street photography day and just capture film, just video, just video. And then on a day that you're not actually shooting for me, I would have you come along on a wedding day to just help capture what I do as the photographer or photographer, videographer, whatever, or just the videographer, and help explain to people the value in what we do. Because my biggest sales pitch, and I don't have a sales pitch, I tell everybody, look, this is what we offer. This is how much it costs. Here's the one thing you get from us: timeless. Whatever we deliver to you, you have forever.
Right.
You get it forever. The food's gone. The florals have shriveled up. The guests have gone back home. The venue has gotten their money. They've cleaned up. They're on to the next thing.
Tuxes are back.
The tuxes are back. Everything else, what we deliver is forever. And I think because I had one gal that had asked me about her wedding, and she goes, "You cost more than my venue." And I said, "And I'm still there next year, and your venue you don't get to have." So
and then you can also, on that day, life doesn't end at that wedding. You've got family photographers. You've got, that baby photographer.
Right.
You've got, first steps or anything like that, on as life goes, where you have that photographer that grows with you.
Right.
Because when you get them return clients, you start to get to know them. And, how their kids are or anything like that.
Oh,
and how to shoot them.
I love that part.
And you can bond with them like that. You're not a stranger coming in, and that's when you start getting them better photos.
Right.
There's a reason why photographers use prompts and stuff like that. Act like this, pretend like this. Once you know how to control them people. This person's a little bit more shy, but if I can get them laughing, they loosen up.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And
Oh,
you
and
start learning that,
Yeah.
Even on a wedding day as that day goes. So you also got to look at photographers that, they can figure that out during the day.
Well, and that's part of the reasons I run my mouth like I do. And I always tell people, I'm like, I talk a lot. I run my mouth a lot. And if I give you some shit,
Give it back.
Give it back. Like I thrive for that shit. Like I love it. I love when people hit me back. And I think that's just part of I guess just the way my entire family is. We love kind of ripping at each other a little bit, but we all truly love each other.
Right.
And so it was funny. My daughter was talking from homecoming yesterday, and she goes, one of her girlfriends, she was like, your parents are so much different than mine. She's like, I was always just the little princess, and you were, and I go, well, she was the princess too, but she was the princess that took no shit. And I think that was, I was kind of raised, you just don't take no shit. Right. And so everybody's raised differently, and I run my wedding day a little bit differently. I'm not soft spoken. And I always tell people, I'm like, the quicker we get the set stuff that the bride and groom want done, the quicker you guys can just have a good time
and the enjoyment part, because most people don't enjoy the portraits. Now we do some different stuff that kind of loosens things up, and it changes the dynamic of the day. But that's something that's came and we've worked on, and we continue to work on in the future and add even more to that.
Right. It is going to be funny when I get a groom dropped on me, though.
It is. It's going to happen someday. It's going to happen someday. So I start laughing every time when I'm looking through them pictures and some of the faces that you get out of it.
Oh, yeah.
And what he's talking about is throwing grooms in the air. And
I will lay on the ground underneath and photograph straight up. And they will pick the groom up. And nothing will ever be as high as those guys threw Dakota.
Oh yeah,
she's
like 90 pounds or something like that,
high in there. And Coda was a big boy too. He's my size, and I love that man. Like shout out to Coda, like my Hank Jr. friend. Like he was great. I had such a good time with those people.
Them are big country boys,
and Coda, me, we're 225, right? And they're tossing Coda above, and they did it a couple times, and we got some really cool stuff out of that. And then they picked up Dakota, and she was teeny, and they launched her
shooting with a 35, and she's out of the frame.
She's gone. She was so gone. But yeah, that'll be interesting the day that I get a groom dropped on me. I'm not so worried about the bride, because the brides typically don't get in on that kind of action, But yeah, it'll be interesting. But no, I think this has been really good, just talking about all the different aspects, a little bit of where we started, but a lot of the aspects of our wedding day, and maybe at some point we structure this a little bit. Maybe we don't. We just kind of pick something, and we see where we ramble. Because
eventually, we're gonna, this portion of it is more of, we hope to. Right now, we don't have a podcast. Technically, it's a podcast setup. Or
it's a
blog,
It's a video podcast.
We would like to put this out on a podcast network eventually. Things are real busy right now, but as they start slowing down, we start figuring out what we have to do as far as that aspect goes. So somebody can sit at work or be driving down the road and listen to this. But we also want to add in some content like you were talking earlier, some street photography, some POV type of stuff. Me as a street photographer, or even when I'm shooting on a wedding day, what is it exactly that I'm looking for? Yeah. And, because that camera is only going to get you so far.
I think that's a good thing, because we can just wear recording packs and go, like when we're doing certain things. So, and I think what, these first few episodes are going to be is just everybody kind of getting to know us. And
because a lot of people have known the images, but they don't know the
people,
camera.
Right? And I would love to get Melanie down here, and I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Maybe eventually.
We'll see. And she likes to hang back, but I know I have had so one of the florists that I love, Julie, we're over in Lorenz at Heart and Home. She wants to come on and talk about the value of florals and photography with florals and everything that she does. And so I will have her on someday this winter, and we'll just sit down and talk flowers, because that woman is a wealth of knowledge. I love it. So all my kids, anytime that they've gone to prom or they've needed flowers for anything, I just call her and I'm like, hey, Julie, here's what they're wearing. This is their colors. Hook me up.
Right.
And so she's like, got you. I'm like, make a boutonniere too for the dude. That way they're matching, they look good. And like she just comes in just perfect. Actually, I just did some business, like I did some headshots for her, and then some product shot, and not necessarily products, but more action shots. Her doing her thing over at the shop, and
which for any creative business, especially nowadays, it's using cell phone and stuff like that. Set something up with a photographer. At least reach out and say, what's this going to cost me?
Well, and she had told me. And I'd given her a price, and it's probably less expensive than you think, especially with us because we're kind of in a smaller market.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably not as expensive as you would think to have us come in and hang out for an hour
Right.
and just get some images. And so what I did with her is that we went in and we knew we needed some headshots, right? She needed some headshots. And so I spent a little time and I did my thing, right? I ran my mouth. We talked a lot. I talked a lot of shit like I always do. And I got her loosened up, and then we got some images, and then I showed her some because I love to show the images at that time because I get them pretty close in camera. And
that's actually how I get like a lot of kids to loosen up that don't want to be in front of that camera. I just try to get one good candid photo of them, and I can show them the back of that camera, and all of a sudden they are down to shoot.
I get them to shoot a picture. I get them to come take pictures of their parents.
Yep.
And even if they're just doing the touch on the back of the screen where you can do the touch to shoot.
Yep.
If I get them to take a couple pictures, they'll do that and then jump back in.
Yep.
That's a whole nother thing, and
Yeah,
how we
that's
deal
another
with
topic.
kids and everything else like that. But so I went in with Julie and I sat in and I just spent time at her shop, and I got some shots and I layered some stuff up and I'm like, let's do this, let's move this, and let's try this. And one of the best shots I got was actually from the I'm standing on a 10-foot ladder down by her ceiling all the way down through all these different flower layers and everything else that she has hanging up. And it turned out so cool. And we got some awesome headshots. And then, once I got her headshots done, I was like, okay, I need you making flowers. And then, boy, she was in it because she goes, this is me. This is my zone.
I've got an idea for that exact shot you were talking about. And I know if I say the shot, you're not going to know what it is.
Probably not.
But
I don't know what you're talking about most of the time.
There's a fisheye Salvador Dali portrait.
Okay.
And it's that same sort of deal. He's signing autographs. He's surrounded by people, and that fisheye is like right up above him, and he just leans. He just leans back and he like screams at the camera.
Yeah.
And so his head just gets super.
Oh
huge,
yeah, I bet.
And then it pushes everything else away, and it's.
Wow.
I'll show you after this, but
cool. Yeah.
That's kind of what that reminds me of when you were talking about it.
So it's fun working with the businesses and especially just getting some creative shots. I know I have a CrossFit gym that we shoot one or two times a year, where we go and we get everybody working out. They use them for their marketing for the year. And like I said, a lot of it is probably way less expensive than people think it is. But also if you are in any of these businesses or any business. And this is not necessarily this video podcast is not necessarily for just photographers and videographers. Right. It's for any sort of creative or business person or anything that a video or photo can help benefit you or your business, or if you see value in what we offer. So whether it's clients, I don't care if we've worked with you in the past or not. I want people to talk about their business, their process, different things, and just have a conversation because you never know who's listening and who's watching and who may need what they have to offer, who may need what we have to offer.
Right.
And
they might not always understand, a lot of people just, they think photo shoot, stand and look pretty type of a thing. Custom photo shoots can be designed. Like, all we need is, hey, I need something. This is what I do.
Give me just a rough idea, and then we'll help create it. So, but yeah, no, I think that would be fun. So feel free to reach out. I would love to, I would love to help. Jason would love to help. I know he's done his own stuff. With what's the guy's name? The one you just did.
Engrain, Levi.
Levi Engrain. So and those images are so cool. Those are so cool.
I also work with Brady.
Brady O'Brien
out of Fort Dodge. I continually work with him on the Brady O'Brien live stuff, and we have a meeting coming up. We had something fall through this last week, but we're always talking on how we can improve that and some other stuff going forward, and we'll see what that all leads to. But I like to stay in touch, keep conversing, with people, and work on their brand together.
Yeah.
It's more than just a one-time shoot. Let's learn something from that shoot
for sure.
See how it works, and then tailor that shoot around your needs.
So the funny thing is, and about that. Because I have two other musicians that I do a ton of stuff with, and we both do. Yep. So Jesse Wilson and Scott Kirkhart. And Scott, so I met Scott years and years ago at, it was a Jordan Davis concert. this is probably 2018, I think, and he was opening, right, and so I met him anyway. So we've developed over the years, and I've done music videos and photo shoots and everything else for him. And right now I've got a video that I'm working on, for a promotional video for him. And then Jesse, we've done a ton of music videos for. You've done a ton of photos for Jesse, and and a lot of that has just, I met one person, so I met Scott.
Yep.
Which then, through Scott, we met Brady, Broken Strings, and this, Jesse Wilson. All of a sudden, it's like, well, who did Scott's video? Oh, and then so Jesse's reaching out, and we've talked to other musicians. I've done work for Casey Musicman.
Yep.
There's, I've shot Jordan Davis. Like, Jordan Davis got me into the Hard Rock Hotel.
Yep.
To photograph him. I've done Creek Fest when it was a thing. Excuse me, that means I'm talking too much, but it's always interesting where one contact will lead you, and
To
I
the
want
next one.
Yeah, so I want everybody to think about that. But it looks like camera batteries are starting to go red,
starting to die off.
so
real
that
quick.
means our time is going to be up. But I really appreciate everybody tuning in. And I think we're going to try to do this at least once a week. That's the plan right now.
Yeah, that's the plan right now. And if we can work it in more, great. And if there's anything that somebody wants us to cover, drop some comments or whatever. And we can definitely see if we can't help out or give you that information, or at least a direction to look.
Right.
And because we started there too, so.
Got a place to start. Yeah. So, but I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I've had to restart this camera twice now, so we got to do something about that. But thank you so much for checking us out. I'm Tim.
I'm Jason.
And this is Exposed.
See ya.